Hello everybody, this is Simon and this is Context Channel. We will be trying to give political context to what's happening in this country and sometimes in this country in relation to the entire world. And this week we are giving context to the passing on of our heroine, Madam Mukami Kimathi. She is a wife to the independence fighter, Field Marshal Kimathi, and we will be trying to give context to what has been happening, especially since she passed on the 5th of this month. That was Wednesday this week. So welcome. Beside me is my brother Paul. Yeah.
I'm Paul, and I will be here with Simon to have the discussion on the subject that he just introduced. Yeah, and I'm hoping that you will find this informative and enriching, because I believe that these are things that we really need to bring to light. There are issues that we don't read about a lot in the history books, and I think at this point in time it is important to put this issue into context now that we lost Mama Mukami Kimathi, and she just got laid to rest today.
Thank you, Paul. Let's proceed. Okay. I will note, according to me, and it's considered view of many people I've interacted with, is that the passing on, while sad and unfortunate, the following day we saw our government, the same state that was pretending to want to give Mukami Kenyatta a state burial, went ahead and signed a quote-unquote peace agreement with the persons or the UK government that killed her husband and then condemned her to her life of widowship for the last 59 years or thereabout. And according to me, this signing of the peace agreement, or not really peace agreement, but a security accord between us and the UK, especially one day after we lost Madam Mukami Kimathi, is probably one of the most significant betrayal we have had in our history, and it's really sad. I would like to hear Paul's view concerning that. What do you say about it?
I will start off by conveying my condolence message to the family. Mama Kimathi, Mukami Kimathi, stood out in this country for a very long time as a heroine, Mau Mau heroine, because her husband was the leading light of that movement, which then culminated in our independence in 1963. So it is also safe to regard her as an independence heroine. And losing her at the age of 101, I'm glad she lived that long, but I'm also sad that she never got justice that she had been pursuing, that she had been desperately pursuing for more than 60 years, because we are told that after her husband was hanged, her husband was not eaten by wild animals in the bushes.
Yeah, that's right.
Because Mau Mau was kind of guerrilla warfare, and it was mostly happening in the bushes. But at least what is clear to us is that her husband did not disappear in the bushes. Yeah. So he was hanged, and that is so clear in history. But then the issue that this woman had been dealing with for more than 60 years was that of at least wanting to know where her husband, after her disappearance or after his hanging, where his body was taken to.
Yeah.
And that is not something that that is not something that anybody would want to be subjected to, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it is sad that she died before that really got to be resolved.
Yeah.
And just like you said, the tormentors of that family were actually the people that came to our country many years ago, late 1800s, and then what happened first? We were a protectorate.
Yeah.
And then some years later we became a colony because they claimed that they had invested so much in our country.
Yeah.
And so it had to turn from a protectorate to a colony.
Yeah.
And then we had people like Gov't and Kimathi fighting against that because of the domination of the British people who came to settle here, because there was an influx of white settlers who then took fertile lands in the around the mountains and stuff.
Yeah.
And now these were things that Gov't and Kimathi and his group were fighting against.
Yeah.
And then he lost his life in that cause.
Yeah.
And there is no family that is more notable for having suffered the effects of what the British people did, in this country than the Kimathi family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'd like our viewers to notice that Madam Kimathi passed on 5th of this month, and what we experienced is our top politicians flocked in, including our former Prime Minister, Mzee Raila Odinga, and later on we saw Gachagua, our Deputy President. He was there and he said that Madam Mukami will rightly be given a state burial, and we agree with that. But what shocked us is that the following day, amidst that, the same state that wants to recognize her work as a hero of this republic, Gachagua's minion, the CS for Interior, was there signing a peace agreement, not really a peace agreement, but a security accord with the British. And as we said earlier, the British are the same people that killed Kimathi and led to killing of the quest for us Kenyans to get land back that has been taken over by Mzungu, which up to date has never, or a good section has never been given back to our people. But importantly,
and we've just signed off a new phase to allow Kenya and the United Kingdom to continue collaborating in the fight against terrorism, in the fight against cybercrime, in the fight against organized transboundary crime, including but not limited to trafficking in persons, and also illicit financial flows, and a wide array of cooperation to ensure that our criminal justice system is able to help the country.
After we view the video of the British people and our CS, Mr. Kindiki, you realize that there were 4 things that came up. Among them is that Kindiki reported that they want security cooperation in fighting terrorism, in preventing money laundering, in transborder crime, fighting transborder crime, and lastly, to formulate laws to make our state stable. Among many other things, I would like Mr. Paul here to help me dissect. What will you have to say about terrorism?
What?
And the resistance of British people in fighting the terrorists or not fighting. What can you say about it?
I am not really sure that the best way to approach the terrorism situation, that, okay, we are told that it is such a big issue that now requires countries to enter into security accords with the Western nations to try to combat. I really, if you ask me, I don't think that is such a big issue that we're dealing with right now. We don't have a terrorist or terrorism situation in East Africa as we speak. And so I will consider that as something that really if we were a country that gets its priorities right, then I think there are many other issues that we need to deal with. But to make this one come out as big as these guys made it come out, and one could imagine that we are really in the thick of combating terrorism, and like we just got attacked. It happened against the backdrop of an attack that happened, and we have not had such a thing in our region lately. I think for more than a year now, or maybe 2 years or 3 years, we have not had any major attack in any East African country. And so for this kind of thing to happen without any background that highlights the need for it.
It's funny, right?
Except for now, the death of Mama Mukami Kimathi, whose husband was, hanged by the very people with which we entered into that accord. I think that could be the only background of this kind of development that we had. And I regard it as an insult to the legacy of Mama Kimathi.
Or maybe maybe the British government is warning us, maybe if we start demanding for more rights, they will hang us too and hide us somewhere.
I don't know, but I think I find it really horrendous that we had to happen, especially barely 2 days after we lost the wife to Dedan Kimathi.
Adding on that, my point concerning this matter is probably in line with yours, and I'll deviate a little bit. And note that Mr. Kindiki said that it was an expansion of an existing deal, security deal. So that means we've been having a security deal with these people, the UK. And even when we had such a deal, you will realize that they have always occupied this country. There are military bases, UK military bases in this country, pretending or purporting to be helping us to fight terrorism. And the Westgate happened while they were still here, and we still had a security cooperation with them. Afterwards, the Garissa University, the most heinous terrorist attack happened while they had their military here. That cooperation did not really help us. And what we even realize, what they do is that the soldiers in their camps here, they do what they want. Instead of maybe helping us combat terrorism, what we see is the British soldiers raping and killing Kenyan women. It's in the news.
So you mean that maybe by expanding the accord or the deal could perhaps mean expanding an environment for these guys to do even worse things in our...
Exactly.
Okay, go on.
It may mean that. It may mean that. Because your point may seem really wide, but the point is you are bringing on board a very important discussion here. Like, if that is what they've been doing under the previous unexpanded deal.
So expanding it means?
Expanding it means now maybe they will start killing more and raping more and hiding them and hiding behind our laws that are so porous.
Making the environment more fertile and potent for them to continue the atrocities that they have committed over the years and not been made to account for them.
Not being held to account for. And now with what Kindiki says, it's really worrying. Another thing is we were told that they will help us fight transnational or transborder crime and money laundering. And what I'll call anybody's attention to here, remember the Anglo leasing scandal. It's called Anglo because it is related to Britons.
Yes.
Anglo-Saxons. Anglo. Our country was fleeced nearly to death under fictitious, contracts in which we signed to receive some products, but we sometimes didn't receive the products and the money were paid. And that money has hence been hidden in UK banks and in some islands that are under the control of the UK. So that means it seems now we are expanding the law to fight transnational money laundering, but maybe only on our side, but themselves, it's okay for us, for our money to be stolen and be hidden there, and they are doing nothing about it. I thought they will do something honorable first, maybe repatriate all the money that was stolen under Anglo-leasing and all that has been stolen, including in KPLC scandals and others, which we've been lied to, that has been repatriated and there's no evidence. Maybe before telling us to fight such crime, it cannot be they're telling us to fight crimes and our money is hidden there and they're doing nothing about it. What do you have to say? Maybe short.
I think that should be the most horrendous thing, or the most horrendous claim to make as one of the goals that this accord is supposed to pursue, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because when
it's almost outrageous.
It is very outrageous when we have a lot of money getting lost in our country, and being stolen by the people that we put into positions to safeguard our resources and deploy them responsibly, but then end up taking advantage of having those positions to steal all the money. And after they steal them, they take them to safe havens. And Great Britain or the UK happens to be one of the safe havens for these guys to go stuff our monies, which we are denied the opportunity to expand our economy and just develop our country using these monies. So when these monies are taken and stuffed in the UK banks, then it means, and the UK guys don't seem to really, take or have the urge to take action against that if they're serious. They are serious about, combating economic crimes like money laundering. But then I'm sure that for as long as these monies are normally kept in the UK banks for years upon years, and they're used to develop the UK economy and stuff like that. And for as long as those monies are useful to them and they're using them to build their own economy, they have totally no problem with it. So I think that this deal is one lopsided deal where maybe we are supposed to help them combat economic crimes, where their money, money, people who steal money in the UK, if we have people whoever succeed with that, bring their monies here. So we help the UK to fight money laundering that involves Britons who may attempt to hide it in Kenya, or do some of business operations in Kenya using those kinds of money, but then they don't seem to really want to reciprocate by dealing with people who steal money from us and store them in their countries.
I'll call your attention to something here in passing, that deal in a very funny way. We note even Kindiki was reading it startling. I don't know why he was startling. I don't know if he was being told to read. They concluded that it was sometimes to combat, the funding of terrorism, which we had seen earlier, the dimension it takes, and to conclude how much they care or don't about terrorism. Kenya has been applying for those guys, for the Americans and the Britons, to sanction Al-Shabaab. And they refuse to sanction Al-Shabaab, really. So their genuineness in trying to fight terrorism is actually a joke. But concerning assigning or having an agreement with the Britons to protect us, or they purporting to volunteer to protect us, is not new. I'd like to call your attention to this document here. It is from the SAR History Kenya. The link will be provided below.
Okay.
And you notice in the history of Kenya, as far back as 1895, the British formed East African Protectorate. So that means the UK now offered to protect us. They found us living well here, and then they purported to want to protect us.
Against what? Exactly?
We don't know against what. and then out of their own accord proceeded to start building a railway in 1901. They built the Mombasa to Kisumu railway.
Okay.
Yeah, that was 1901. And then afterward, immediately after the railway was built, for those people who thought it was for Kenyans to use, you will notice here, European and Indian settlers arrived in great numbers in East Africa. White settlers control the colony and take the most fertile land, while the African inhabitants are forced to native reserves. Exactly. So you realize when Mzungu came, after pretending now to protect us, like he is now pretending, you know, what happened is that they pushed Africans out of their land, they took the fertile land, and then they created reserves for Africans, you know, in the lands that they could not use themselves. And I would like to call attention to last year, even our former president Uhuru Kenyatta pretended to be giving title deeds to Kenyans. And one of the areas he was giving titles to was former concentration camps in Nyandarua, where Africans had been taken there as concentration camps. Now, so many years afterwards, instead of them being taken back to their land or being given good land, the same concentration camps, maybe like the Nazi camps, the Kenyan government started now to subdividing the concentration camps in a very cynical way. And to go back, to tie this point back to Mukami Kimathi, it is the efforts to revert these efforts that led to Mr. Kimathi being killed. Fast forward in 1921, you see now the East African Protectorate now become the crown colony of Kenya. So after pretending that they were protecting Kenyans, now it becomes a colony, and they bring in a British general. It's a general, it was an occupation. What do you have to say about it?
There's something I read about that.
Yeah.
You know, after having been made a protectorate in the late 1800s, very close to 1900.
Yeah.
And then after they did the things they did, which we never really asked them to do, we never invited them to do those things in Kenya.
Exactly.
If they are claiming to have come around and, you know, we were backward and they developed our economy, you know, built the railway, and just did all those many things that they claimed to have done.
Yeah.
And so what they gave us the reason for converting Kenya from now a protectorate, I'm not sure what they were protecting us from.
Yeah.
And then in 1920, we became a colony.
Yeah.
And then the reason they gave for that was that they had invested so much in Kenya that they could not just, you know, walk away and leave all those things that they had built for us to benefit from.
Yeah.
So there had to be the influx of, you know, white settlers and you know, who would make better use
of the land
of the infrastructure and the land than we could.
Yeah. And then you realize here, from 1952, that is when the Africans started now claiming back their land using force.
Okay.
And you realize the force was disproportionate. Mzungu had those guns, had tanks. Africans only had rifles and maybe arrows and bows. But that did not deter the murderers Mzungu from doing all kind of illegal crimes. I have been to Githongori several times, and we know people are being hanged in the public there for fighting for freedom of the land they owned, the land that belonged to their forefathers. And amidst all things that Mzungu did, he never stopped calling himself democratic. I would like to see him where he allowed Kenyans to vote, or Africans to vote on if to surrender their land to him, or when they afforded our hero Kimathi we were talking about earlier, maybe a right to a fair trial, things that they claim they support nowadays. And it's under such circumstances that now, among other people, when the war started in 1952, proceeded until maybe the independence came, but by 1957 it was clear that Mzungu's occupation was untenable here. And it is when they killed Kimathi, now turning over the colony into a colony, because you will realize it's only, even the constitution did not change.
Okay.
The same system that Mzungu used was the same one that was used, that the same colony, an African was picked from somewhere, and we were told he was a president under the same constitution. What do you have to say about that?
I think we never really got our own independence at the time that we got whatever it is that we refer to as the independence in 1963.
Yeah.
Because if these guys could install a president for us,
Yeah.
and then for a very long time people did not have a lot of bad things to say about the first president that we had.
Yeah.
But as years changed,
Yeah.
things came out, and there is so much that we really got to know about the guy
Yeah.
that we thought was you know, the founding father who did so much for us, you know, because there is always the excitement that you have. I can imagine the kind of excitement that was here when we got what was called independence in 1963, and then we had that, you know, Mzee Kenyatta installed as president.
Yeah.
But then a lot of things that happened when he led this country. The many people that died, the many people that disappeared, you know.
Exactly. And you know, the kind of economic crimes that he and his cronies perpetuated, led by himself, because we know how much this guy got himself for the 15 years. And in
for
fact,
himself and his family for the 15 years. That
even the land that the black man was asking for from the white person, some of it was turned over to him.
So we had one person having more land than even the white person that we were fighting had, like in total, like combined all the Wazungus that were here, all the land that they had combined. We ended up having the savior president having maybe triple that amount of land for himself, and
establish a system that praised him, that every public holiday is his, and his name is repeated among others, quote unquote, founding fathers.
I think we had the worst possible takeoff.
Yeah, we did.
I wish we stayed as a colony a little longer.
Yeah, maybe.
But at least I wish our independence delayed even for 15 years. Just for us to get it right, and get an independence that was really an independence, because what we got was something that was basically just given to us by...
They just installed a black governor.
By the white man. They decided, you know, when you're getting given something by someone, you don't really dictate how much you get from them. And they script everything. They make sure that whatever you get is not something that ends up disadvantaging them. So they procured for us the independence, which then some people and led by the founding father, the first president, really were not really in control of whatever happened at the time.
What is Kindiki doing then? What can we advise Mr.
What Kindiki is doing is basically an extrapolation of these very injustices that we are talking about.
Is he probably giving Mzungu an opportunity to finish off people that Mzungu feels chased him away from Kenya prematurely?
I think he's making it easy for Mzungu to have a comeback here. And I don't think that is what we want, because that will be an enabler of, I think, a lot of bad things that we will see in this country over the coming years, because that is such a serious pact that they signed. And it is not, once such pacts are signed, it is not easy to walk or to take them back or to just walk out of them. just like you'd walk out of a toilet.
Gachagua now, the son of Mau Mau, who is overseeing such.
The son of Mau Mau, the less I said about him, the better. Gachagua is not someone that will sit down here and talk about, because I think he is the opposite of anything that a Mau Mau person or someone who believes that they are descendants of Mau Mau and actually sings it on a daily would do.
Yeah.
And I think there is no better demonstration of him being a scumbag of a Mau Mau descendant than the things that we see
exactly,
now.
Exactly. Thank you, Paul. And viewers, I would like you to know that these are some of the things that you should keep your eye on. The bilateral friendship we are told we have with the UK is non-existent. It's a joke. It's one-sided. They have their interest here. Their security interest cannot converge with ours. We are a small country.
And if I may ask you,
yeah.
And you just said that it is a one-sided pact.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what it is, because I am here imagining it is a pact. It is a security pact between Kenya and the United Kingdom. So assuming that the UK found itself in a situation or a terrorism situation, are we going to have a scenario where we have military personnel, being lifted from Kenya to the UK or to whichever place the UK is facing aggression from?
I don't think so.
But then it is actually a situation where we will have a British army pitching camp here and just being now the big brother that we have here, and I don't think that should be happening these many years after independence, and we have an army that can do things for itself.
Exactly, and keep us safe. Like we trust them to do.
We are just we are equipped. We are equipped to levels where I think very few African countries rival the the level of military strength that we have.
So we are safe. Nobody in
we are safe.
In their right mind.
We have not seen any terrorist attack.
Can they choose to come attack us?
Unless it is a security pact that is meant to address the cattle rustling problem that we have internally, which if we were unable to address, then I think that is an internal failure for which we do not need the support of assistance.
You just made me to say something I didn't want to say. First, like when you see them, this pact is probably meant, in addition to purporting to fight terrorism and doing what they want, you realize even in the First and the Second World War, Kenyans fought for Mzungu's interest in Indochina, in wherever, Indochina. So I foresee maybe somewhere in future where Mzungu will take colonial war, maybe in Central Europe, or maybe in the Falklands, in the south, that island that long time belonged to Argentina before Mzungu stole it, or maybe in the Pacific where Mzungu wants to start another colonial war, like he did in the First and Second Opium War, fighting a war of aggression against China. So I foresee where he might spark another war. And he will need, low-priced bodies for him. To them, they don't count an African as equally as themselves.
This speaks to the biggest problem I have always thought Africa has, or the black man has. We give so much power to the West that I think at some point we just feel that we are helpless and we cannot make decisions on our own, and just be people who believe that we can do our things our own way, and we can pursue solutions that are so internal and that are mediated or midwifed by us. We are a group that normally waits for the white man, and especially the Western side of things.
I will remind you
to start conversations.
It always happens that way. Like they will start a war maybe in Iraq, and then they come because our government has managed to keep many of us as poor as we are. once there is an enlistment for British Army, you see Kenyans going there, getting enlisted, and once in a while you hear Kenyan's leg has been blown off fighting in colonial war somewhere in Afghanistan or somewhere in Iraq.
So these things are just curated and we fall for them hook, line, and sinker.
Exactly. For a war that does not belong to us, and then you find such a person being, treated as a hero, and in real sense is a mercenary. Somebody who is not even protected under the Geneva Convention, really, because our country has never been in a war against Iraq.
Yeah.
So any Kenyan who gets killed or get arrested even
of what
in
interest?
Iraq.
Of what interest is a war in Iraq is to a Kenyan?
Maybe we can say it's a colonial war, as we said, British colonial war.
Because as those wars go on and those countries get torn apart and just ravaged by the bombings and everything. At the end of the day, we have countries that end up benefiting from the resources of those countries, and Kenya can never be one of them.
Kenya cannot, it can never be. So it's not us.
Yes.
So
I think we are done for the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will close by again passing my condolences to the Kimathi family on the loss of their matriarch. We hope God rests her soul in eternal peace.
Yeah. And I want to thank you, Paul, for your time, and also pass my deep, heartfelt condolences to the family of Kimathi and Mukami, and actually offer myself any movement that is geared toward honoring the honor and the cause of Mr. Kimathi. I'll be joining.
And the legacy of Mama Mukami, because she stood out away from the shadows of her husband. She stands out as a beacon she fought for social justice and just so many things. So
thank you. And if you like this kind of content, please subscribe and turn on.
Please like the video.
Like the video.
Please like the video and share with your friends about this channel if you feel they would be interested in this kind of content.
Thank you.
So see you in the next one.